Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page, where I hold this almost daily live stream around the divination card, the oracle card that is drawn in the morning, and we have a spiritual conversation about it. So it's really about coming together as community and having a really good conversation, a spiritual conversation. And I say almost every day because I missed yesterday. I missed you guys too. I had a business meeting, a phone call. Well, it's not really, it was a Zoom meeting that I had to attend. And so I couldn't, one of these days I'm going to learn how to bilocate. I can be in two different places at one time. So anyway, welcome. And today is Sunday, February 24th. And it is a blustery, cold day here in Tomah, Wisconsin. We had a major winter storm yesterday and last night where we got freezing rain, and then on top of it, we got snow. And north of us, literally, they got like 12 to 15 inches of snow north of us. South of us, they got a whole bunch of rain, and we were right in between. So we had a little bit of both. So today they're saying there's like almost all of the highways north of Highway 21 here in Wisconsin. They're saying, don't drive on them. Don't drive on them. And there's parts of the interstate that are closed for like 12 to 15 hours because of car accidents. Yeah, it's serious out there. So I'm glad I'm here in my meditation room broadcasting. I didn't even go up to the academy. I don't know if I can make it up the hill, actually. But so it's good that I have this alternate studio in my meditation room. And so it's good to be here with you guys. Yeah. Let's see who's in the chat. Oh, before I do that, before I forget, because I know I will, I'm going to share and like the broadcast, the live stream. And I'm going to find it here. There we are. I'm going to like it, and I'm going to share it. And I'm going to share it to my newsfeed. Yeah. Just so that my friends know that I'm live streaming. Daily show right now. And I'm going to ask to please join us. There we go. And we're going to send it over there. Oh my God, you guys are so good. Already 10 shares. I love it. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. All right. So let's see who's in the house. Rochelle's here. Hey, Rochelle. She's saying there's a major blizzard here. I believe it. I believe it because I tell you what, the wind here is so in gusts, right? And I was looking out our living room front windows, and this huge gust of wind went through, and it was like a whiteout. I couldn't see past probably two or 3 feet past the window. Yeah. So it's major stuff out there. Whoops, did that one. Hey, Julie's here too. Hello, Julie. Good to have you in the house as always. Look who's here. Mervin's here. Yay. Good evening, Mervin. I'm so glad you're here. That means that things are a little bit better with Mom then, huh? Yeah, or either that or you needed a break. One of the two. I'm so glad you're here. And Barbie's here too. Hello to everyone. Yeah. And Mervin is saying, I haven't been around for a while because, as you know, Mom has been quite ill. She's starting to do much better now. I want to thank everyone for all your prayers and blessings and healing that you've sent her. Thank you all. Oh, you're so welcome, really, Mervin. And we were thinking about you too as the primary caregiver, right? And sending you some good thoughts and lots of love coming your way too. Yeah, I'm glad she's doing better. It's so hard to watch anybody you love, anyone, be in pain. And have very little that you can do to alleviate it, right? You do your very best, you do what you can do, but to know that that you can't take it away completely, right? In many cases, I should say, in many cases, and with elderly parents, it's difficult. Difficult. Got to scroll down a bit here. And Mervin's saying, we've had a bright, sunny day. Oh, good for you guys. Because it's good somebody is. Because we're not, that's for sure. Pat says, happy to hear your mom is doing better. She's talking to Mervin. Thank you, Pat. And Stephanie is doing her good work for us and posting a whole bunch of stuff for us, too. And Rob is saying, we're not getting all the precipitation, but a lot of wind. Yeah. We got both. And Barbie is saying, so windy that the birds are flying backwards. Oh my gosh. That, and you feel sorry for them because they're flying right into the wind, right? And they're not getting very far. A lot of times what they do is they just land and they just wait it out, right? They just wait it out. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. This is one of the things, I know it's a lot, but I'm going to show it anyway. This is one of the things that Stephanie does for us, is that she helps those people who might be new to the live stream, explains in writing what it's all about, and about the card draw and that sort of thing. And so that's really kind of nice, it's very, very helpful. And so the card draw for this particular show is really a community card. It's a group card. And so as we share about the information, the essence or the spirit of the card and of the animal, whatever resonates with you, that piece is for you, right? Yeah. And to actually be a part of the conversation, because we learn so much from each other, right? And so I'm just glad that you guys are here on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday with me to have a spiritual conversation. Yeah. All right. So yesterday, before we get to the card, I've got it right, the book right here. I just wanted to say that I had such a productive day yesterday, even though we were having some really interesting, serious winter weather out there. I got a heck of a lot done yesterday. I was working on the magazine primarily, and getting the next big promotion for the magazine, getting closer and closer to being able to be a part of the launch for it. And we're hoping, I got my fingers crossed, is that we have everything done that we need to have done by Tuesday. And so by the end of the week, our magazine will have the opportunity to be in front of 10,000 people. That's a lot of people to say, hey, look, there's a new magazine out there called Star Nations, right? Yeah. So that's what I've been working on. And I was also working on radio, live stream shows yesterday. Radio shows. Yeah. So I got a lot done. That meeting I had was really good. It's 24 of us who have partnered with Magcast. They're the ones who help us to turn the magazine into a digital form. And we've been partners with them since 2013. And and so they're the ones that are helping us with this next step. And so there's 24 magazines that are going through the same process as we are. And so not all of 24 were on the same call, but I would say, I think there was like 18 of us on that call, and getting help to get things tweaked and that kind of stuff. So, and a lot of questions answered, and it was a really, really good call. And so even though I missed you guys, it was a really, really productive day yesterday afternoon. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. Now, with the card draw, one of the things that I'd like to share about is for those people who might not be aware of how I do this and why I do it, right? And I've been doing divination or oracle card draws, a card a day in the mornings for a really long time. It was just something that I did for myself. It was very helpful in those early years to kind of get a heads up of what kind of energy was flowing that day that was important for me to know about, right? And so that was very helpful. Well, I want to say it's going to be almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years this coming fall that I was taking like a quote out of the morning card draw and putting it on Star Nation's Instagram business account. And then this past May, I had this bright idea, which probably was a nudge that came from my spiritual team, was to do a daily live stream around the card that was drawn and sharing all kinds of other stuff too, right? And so that's what we did. We started in May, and we've been doing an almost daily live stream. I have missed days here and there. I've taken a weekend off, kind of thing. But what it's turned into is really a gathering of Star Nation's community. We've been adding new people to the community, and what we're doing is the card is very helpful. But I think the part that I like the best about it is that it sparks a conversation. And that conversation is where we learn so much from each other, right? Yeah. I enjoy it a lot. I like being with you guys. And I'm just scrolling to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Pat is saying rain, snow, and high winds here. Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, just about, you know. Barbie is saying, let's see, I think I scrolled too far. Whoops, scrolled too far. There we go. Yes, windy by her as well. And scrolling up. There we go. Oh, yeah. Here, I need to click on this. Wait. All right, so the bottom information about the drum making class. If you're interested, to please contact us. We're starting a waiting list if we have enough people to do a second class, probably later in the summer, late summer, I would think. I'd have to double check the calendar kind of thing. But that particular May 18th drum making class in Lyons, Michigan is now full. So if you're still interested in making a drum with me, is to please contact us, and we'll get you on the waiting list, okay? Yeah. All right. And look who just came in. Julie Hedges is here too. Hello, Julie. Always good to see you in the chat. All right, and you came in just at the right time, Julie, because I'm just going to show the card that came today. We haven't had this card yet, and here we go. It's the Stag. The Stag. Yeah. And in Gaelic, I forgot how to pronounce it. I'm going to have to look it up again. Stag is pronounced Damh, D-A-V. I hope I did that right. Damh. D-A-V is the phonetic spelling of it, and the Gaelic spelling is D-A-M-H, D-A-M-H, but it's pronounced Damh. In English, it's Stag. Yeah, and here we are. Now, to me, this is an elk. This is what an elk looks like here in the United States. But in England, in the UK, it's a stag. And I have to say that when the one of the trips I had to Ireland, we actually saw a stag. And I tell you what, people were just excited. Very excited to see this, and we were on the tour bus, and people are practically hanging out the windows and trying to get their cameras out to get the pictures. And I'm standing next to Amantha Murphy, and she's all excited about it too. And I said, so what makes this so special? And she says to me, well, it's because we don't have that many, and a sighting of one is really kind of rare. And that it's a good sign, it's a good omen when you see a stag. Oh, that's really kind of cool. And she goes, do you guys get to see them all the time? I said, well, this looks more like one of our elk, and depending on where you live, you may not see one because there's not any in your state. I said, but we happen to have elk in Wisconsin, and some of the upper Midwestern states, they have their own elk herd. I said, if you're out west, chances of seeing an elk is pretty good. I said, where I live, white-tailed deer a lot, and so seeing a buck with a huge rack, it's nothing out of the norm, right? It's actually so much so that you kind of take it for granted. But people were taking pictures of that stag over in Ireland, and because it was a good omen, and they don't see them that often. Yeah. And so this is I think it's a gorgeous card. Birch trees, right? And whether that's a rising sun or a setting sun in the back. We got a little bit of water in the background. And the elk itself, he's got his mouth open, so chances are he's doing some bellowing or calling. Yeah. Okay, and then we got some plants down near the bottom of the card. And we can only see 3 of his legs, and 2 are on the ground and 1 is up. And look at all those stone etchings. There's a heck of a lot going on in this card, that's for sure. Now I'm going to come up to his antlers again. And I didn't take the time to count them before, so I'm going to do that now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it could be a 5 by 5 or 10 point. And antlers are kind of like earrings for me. When you see them in a card like this, there's a lot of clear audience going on, clear hearing. Yeah. And so I had to stop and think about before I looked at the book, what do I know about stag? Very little. What do I know about elk? I know a lot, because I use elk hide a lot when I make drums in drum making classes. It's a very it's a kind of hide that you can use for almost anything. You can do it in public, like drum circles, or it can be a private drum for your own healing and your own drumming. It can be used in ceremony, in healing other people. It's a very versatile drum because of the elk hide, right? And it can range in the kind of voice. It could be a deep voice, or it could be a light voice, depending on where the drum head is cut from on the hide. Closer to the neck, it's thicker. And so the thicker the hide, the deeper the voice. And so with elk, I know that, it's about nobility and long legs, right? So graceful. And when you're looking at, a stag like this or an elk like this, and they're running through the woods with trees, you wonder how the heck do they get through the trees without getting their antlers caught, right? Especially when the trees are close together. But they do it, and they run with such grace, and they can go for really long distances at a certain pace. That's part of their medicine, is learning how to pace yourself. and they are they're how do I want to say this? They're kind of near the edge of like when they come, they don't really eat in a field. They'll eat along the edges of the field. If you see them in the midfield, that means that there's probably a lot of good green grass there. But they also they eat many times at near sunrise and sunset during those twilight kind of hours, dusk. And so many times will put their energy near the gateway or the doorway of the between, you know? Yeah. It's kind of interesting because the wolf is very symbiotic with the elk and the stag as well, because they have um, it's one of the main food for the elk out west. I mean, for the wolves out west. And so they're very symbiotic. If you have a large number of elk or stag, that means you have a large number of wolves. If you have a small number of stag or elk, that means your wolf population is very low too. So just a few things that I know about that. But looking at it from the UK perspective was one of the reasons why I was so happy to see Mervyn in the house, is because he can help us understand it from that perspective, right? So I'm going to scroll through and see. Yeah, and Julie's saying, "Oh, stag, yep," and Mervyn's saying, "That's right. They're rare. The sighting is rare." Julie says, "I have a buffalo drum made by me. It's a beautiful and healing drum." Yeah, and it's got a deep voice. Buffalo has a much deeper voice than elk. And Rob is saying the white stag has even deeper symbolism. Yes, it does, because of the white. Mm-hmm. And Julie's saying, "I had a great cover photo for Facebook." Okay. Yeah, it is. Wouldn't it be? Julie says, "I love how you go through all the imagery and symbolism with each card." Yeah, and I've always done this, and I'm sure other people do it too, is that, to take a look at the card before you actually read what's in the book, because we may surprise ourselves that we actually know a bit more than we give ourselves credit for. And actually, and so you're pulling on your own knowledge base, but more importantly, you're actually taking in the essence of the card, the spirit of the card. And so that kind of information, that spirit information, is coming in, even though maybe you might not be consciously aware of it. And so you're really sensing the card with all of your senses, right? Not just reading the text. Yeah. And Pat says, "I have a white-tailed deer come to visit when I need them, and I live in town." Oh, that's very interesting. And deer have become much more urban. I mean, they're still out in the country too, but they're acclimating to living closer to people in town. Why? It's safer for them. They're not hunted in town. So their populations are quite high in urban areas. Yeah. And Stephanie say, "I have twin stags, have been running around my neighborhood all winter. There have been quite a few others running about." Yeah, she's got some really great pictures of them too, just outside on her patio. I was like, because they're white. Are they whitetail or blacktail deer, Stephanie? Do you know? Julie says, "I wonder if Nellie would tell us what his message is in the border of the card." Oh, yeah. He'll remind us. You'd think I'd remember this. It's something like the ancient ones singing the song to the young, or to the children, something like that. But he'll tell us. And Julie said, "I purchased this deck on Amazon. Beautiful." Oh, good for you. Yeah. There we go. "The songs of our ancestors are the songs of our children." Isn't that beautiful? The songs of our ancestors are the songs of our children. I just love that. It makes me feel good. Now I saying we used to have wolves here a long time ago. Yeah. Yeah, they were hunted to extinction, weren't they? Hmm. Well, and then that means that, they're an apex predator. And so that means that in nature, there's your deer herd probably is probably larger out in the country, I would think. Um, I don't think. Do you guys have bears out there too? Do you know, Mervyn? The apex predators are the ones that will keep the population of certain animals in balance. And the two-leggeds, we're an apex predator. Um, we're the ones that kind of muck things up because when we go in and we think we know more than nature, and we try to manage. I like that word when they use that one, when the DNR uses that one, when they manage the deer herd or the elk herd or the wolf, packs. Yeah. We're usually the problem. We're the problem children. Julie's saying that we have a ravine kitty corner from our house. We often have 4 or 5 whitetail in our yard or in the street nearby. Yeah, there really are more and more whitetail deer in urban settings. Yeah, and even here, we live very close to Fort McCoy, and Fort McCoy is, I think, 65,000 or is it 85,000 acres, something like that. It's huge. And the deer population there, I mean, hunters can, by permit, can go in to hunt at Fort McCoy because that's where Paul hunts. But there's certain areas that they can't hunt, and it's called cantonment. And in the cantonment area are like housing. That's where some of the office buildings are, and the stores and that sort of thing. They're in cantonment. And I tell you what, the population of the deer in cantonment is pretty high. Why? Because they know the pressure from hunters is not present in the cantonment area. And so you'll see them, around the buildings and that sort of thing. Yeah, they're smart. Very, very smart. Yeah. Stephanie is saying, honestly, I don't know how to tell the difference between the different types of deer. Okay, here's one, is that whitetail means their tail is completely white underneath. Okay. When they're blacktail, that means the fur underneath the tail is black. And, of course, the elk is so much bigger than a whitetail. They're taller, they're broader. A male elk will run about 1,200 to 1,500 pounds. They're huge. Whereas a male white-tailed deer is probably maybe 125 pounds, something like that, 150 if it's big. Maybe 180. I've seen those as high, but they're much smaller. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, they used to have bear. In the UK. Yeah. That's interesting. I find that fascinating because the prey population, other than man, how does nature keep it in balance? Yeah. Grandmother Earth has her work cut out because of us. Rob is saying we've wiped out the predators, and not telling hunters to hunt in residential areas a bit of a no-brainer. Yeah. I think it depends on where you live, though. The apex predators here in Wisconsin, especially in northern Wisconsin, there's still a fair amount of them. In the southern part of the state, not so much. Yeah. And so, where there isn't bear, wolf, eagle is actually considered an apex hunter. Yeah, it's really left up to the two-leggeds, as apex, to keep the balance, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, here's something. It's Stephanie's. Can we make Britain wild again? Talks about rewilding of Britain and Europe. That's a good one. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie is on it. All right. And Mervyn is saying the image on the left of the stone of the picture is Ceranos, Keranos, one of the Celtic corn gods. He's the god of the wild hunt and animals. Yeah, let's see. We'll wait. Let me take the comment down and then we'll show the card. Here we go. It's the bigger stone down at the bottom, the wild hunt. And get my camera to focus. Come on, baby. Trying to get it to get in focus there. There we go. Down at the bottom. All right. And the image down on the other side, opposite of Keranos, is what is that symbol? It's like half circles or 3/4 circles in a line. Yeah. You know, in the birch trees, there's mushrooms growing on one of them. Fairies, right? And the birch trees, it's, you know, the way they have it depicted here is about, you know, a doorway or a gateway. Let's find out what Philip Cargome has to say, the author, one of the authors. So Stephanie is saying, compared to other European countries, the UK has been slow to reintroduce the indigenous species, despite European legislation. In many cases, we have to pick them up and plunk them down. Big predators now roam in nearly 1/3 of the mainland Europe. 17,000 brown bears, 12,000 wolves, 9,000 Eurasian lynx, and 1,250 wolverines, but not in Britain. Oh, yeah, because it's an island. Well, you know, that does make a difference now, doesn't it? Yeah, there is that. And Julie's saying, my parents live in the country, hilly, old-growth trees subdivision, many houses, not very large yards. It's in the subdivision. It's like a wilderness refuge. White-tailed deer in the backyard. They jump the fence like nothing. I know. And look at when you pull in the driveway, skunks, fox, turkeys in the subdivision. It's crazy, and they're not too far from the city. Yeah. Animals are very, very bright. They're very smart. It's called survival. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mervyn. It looks like a cut down version of a labyrinth. Yeah. Down there at the corner. Trying to get my camera to focus. There we go. To me, at first when I looked at it, it looked like a switch, you know, like an on and off switch or something like that. But you're right, you know, a very simple labyrinth showing you the way in and the way out. Yeah. Very interesting. Now, let's see what Philip has to say, okay? All right, so here, I'm going to hold the card up while I read the first part. The words that he has that go with Damh is pride, independence, and purification. Pride, independence, and purification. The card shows a stag bellowing as it stands before a gateway of birch trees. According to Druid tradition, the birch is the tree of beginnings, and the stag is a creature from the beginning of time. The gateway represents the place of transition from this world to the other world, And the stag is often seen as an otherworldly messenger. On the rock beside him is the carved figure of a man wearing antlers. He is the god Keranos, Herne of the hunter, or Merlin. The plants in the foreground are all associated with stag. Pennycress, also known as deer's pot. Her. I don't know what. Oh. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Okay, so I was reading what the author had to say about the card, right? And as I was reading it, my light kind of flickered. I don't know if you saw that. It just kind of flickered just a little bit. And I thought, because, we have a lot of ice here. So something happened to the internet. It said it came out that I had no internet connection, and my laptop is plugged into the router, so I have a direct connection. It's not like I'm running on Wi-Fi. So that's what happened is I lost the internet just for, I don't know, maybe a minute or so. And so it takes a little bit for you guys to be able to catch up. I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to do that. And so I am back. Yeah, I had to refresh the screen, and then when I did that, it said I didn't have internet. Yeah, so I'm back now. I think that's what happened is our internet got dropped. I don't think it's Facebook because it usually is when we have problems. But I think it was my internet, and I think it has to do with the winter storms that we just finished. It's now we're into the wind, and so yeah, it was. So I'm back. Yep. I'm hoping. Okay. Yeah. Julie is saying probably issues from the wind, had my lights flickering earlier. Yeah. At first I thought maybe we were going to lose power, like the electricity, right? And it's possible because that would have knocked out my internet too, right? Because it's run and we still have to have electricity to do that. And Jane is saying, my feed keeps dropping off. Well, it couldn't. Well, it's possible that it is your feed, but mine did too drop, Jane. Mine dropped too. So, and that's not good when you're producing the show. Yeah. Yeah. When my light started to flicker. Okay, let's get back to the card. All right. So, what they were talking about was the birch trees being a portal or doorway, a gateway, and that the elk is seen as a messenger to the other world. Philip Cargome goes on to say that Damh brings us the qualities of grace, majesty, and integrity. Contemplating the stag can help you achieve a greater sense of poise and dignity. Okay. So it brings us the energies of grace, majesty, integrity. When we call on the energy of stag, we can bring in the energy of poise and grace. He goes on to say that it also signifies independence. Independence to both spiritual and physical. By drawing the card, you're able to find the strength to gain and maintain your independence. Ogham, that druid written language, ancient, language of the sacred trees, the stag is related to the birch tree and the number 1. The birch is associated with the blessings of the beginnings. It's auspicious to draw this card when contemplating new projects. So how many of you are contemplating new projects? Contemplating new projects. Stephanie, you're so funny. Symbol on the left, rock. Computer on symbol. Smart ass answer. There's a rock in Europe with these symbols all over it. Yeah. And Julie's saying, totally see the gateway. Yeah. All right. Scrolling through all the problems with the screen going dark. Okay. And then there's Jane. Here, Jane is saying, Irvin, the symbol is similar to the one we saw at Newgrange. Newgrange. I'm trying to remember where that symbol's at in Newgrange. Is it inside the cairn? I don't think it's outside the cairn. Couldn't find the rock. Okay. Yeah. Newgrange is in Ireland, yes. Did you see it on the inside of the cairn or the outside of the cairn? And Mervin's saying, yes, I've forgotten that. And Rob is saying there's an old project that got put on hold. Well, that's interesting. Stephanie is saying I'm starting my new quarterly journal on Friday. Well, there is that, and I was thinking about, it's called Instant Audience. That's the new project that we're starting. I'm hoping, well, we've been working on it. The launch is, I'm hoping, this week. Yeah. So, there's things that are in the hopper all the time, but something that's actually coming out and getting into the public. We've got a couple here at Star Nations, a couple new books we're going to be publishing. So Jane's saying it's on the outside. I'm going to have to look at my pictures because I don't remember seeing it. I've been to Newgrange like 4 times. I missed it all 4 times. There are 2 Stephanie Williams in the room at the moment. 2 different Stephanie Williams or the same? And okay. All right. So here is now the card was not drawn in the reverse. Okay. But I'm finding that there's information in the reverse that could be helpful. All right. So here is what it says about if it's drawn in reverse. It says to examine this card shows that you need to examine the degree to which your pride is helping or hindering you. Pride can be a valuable feeling when when it helps to give you only of your best. Okay. Pride can be a valuable feeling when it helps you to give only of your best, but it can also block your development, enjoyment of life if it exists only to protect your feelings of vulnerability and inadequacy. So if you're using pride to cover up your vulnerability, then it's an interference or a block. It's not a positive thing at that point. It goes on to say that the stag god, as lord of the hunt, is responsible for culling, which can be seen as a process of purification or sacrifice, maintaining a proper ecological balance. Isn't that funny? Because that was when I first was looking at the card and I was talking about the apex, right? And how the prey and predator are symbiotic, that they help to keep the balance, right? And so if you don't have an apex hunter, then an apex predator, I should say, then the balance is out of balance. There is no balance. That's interesting. Maintaining a proper ecological balance. He goes on to say, drawing this card in reversed may signify the need for sacrifice or purification in your life, perhaps through a letting go of unnecessary possessions or emotional attachments, thereby helping you to gain independence and integrity. So if we're looking at finding a balance with our pride, yeah, that we might be asking ourselves a question about that. And maybe even calling on stag medicine to help us to regain our balance with that. And it might mean letting go of something that's no longer serving you, that's feeding that pride, if the pride is out of balance. Isn't it interesting? I find it fascinating. And then they talk about the antlers. Now, the antlers do shed. They are bone, but they do shed. And they shed their antlers in late winter, it says. The antlers start to grow in early summer and are fully developed by rutting time, the mating season in autumn. Around the Druid festival time of Imbolc on February 1st, they shed their antlers shortly before the birth of their young. And most of the time, the birth of the young will happen in the spring, right? May, June timeframe. At least here in the States it is. I don't know what it would be in the UK. I'm thinking it would probably be pretty similar to that. Possibly April, But the shedding of the antlers, I tell you what, people here will go hunting, walking through the woods looking for the shedding of the horns. Why? Because some people use it for decoration. Others will use it for handles of knives and because they're making knives and that kind of thing. And so people will actually go hunting for those sheds. Here's an interesting piece, is that according to the Druid, it says that, it's according to the Welsh tradition. It says the stag is one of the 5 oldest animals in the world. They believe that the stag is one of 5 totem animals that are central to British tradition. And And so it goes, I'm trying to look for the list here. Blackbird, well, shoot. Because it ended up with the salmon, and I'm looking, I thought they had them listed here. They do. Okay, so it started with blackbird, and then owl, and then eagle, and salmon, and then stag. So stag is the fifth. But the salmon is the oldest and the wisest. Oh, very interesting. Stephanie Williams in Chicago and Stephanie Williams in Colorado. We have two Stephanies. And Bill is here. Nice to meet you too. Gil. That's what happens when you have bifocals. Good to have you here. So this is the card that was drawn this morning, called Stag. Damh in Gaelic, spelled Damh, or H. Isn't that how they say that, Mervyn? H? Not H, but H. All right. There was also a part in here about dressing as the stag. There are stories about how in ceremonies that they would dress as the stag and actually dance. And when I was reading that, I thought, boy, that is so similar to the Yaqui Nation here in the Southwest United States, Northwest Mexico. The Yaqui Nation, they dress as the deer, and they have deer dancers. And so they wear the horns and the cape of the deer hide, the fur. And there's a special ceremonies that they use to dance. And it looks like the Druids in the old days did nearly the same thing, but they used stag. They used the horns and part of the fur. Let's see, you got to put the book down for a second. I'll show you. So, whoops, just dropped the book. We'll let it lay there. This part right here just underneath the neck here, along there. There we go. That's called the cape. That's called the cape. And when they take the in taxidermy, right? What they can do is they'll take from the shoulders and they'll cover the neck. And I know that in the deer dancers with the Yaqui, basically they use that part as part of their dance regalia with the horns. And so it looks like it's possible that they do the same thing with stag. And I found that fascinating because we are in different continents, and yet we have this something in common. Fascinating. And I have a 7-month-old puppy outside the door trying to get in. He was supposed to be with Paul. All right. Barbie says, I need a stick of diamond to get moving. You do? Why? And Nellie is saying, no, we don't pronounce the H in etch. I see. Okay. Very interesting. I'm learning, Mervyn, about how to pronounce some of these words. All right. There's one other thing that I wanted to mention to you, and that is, it says that as well as traveling to the other world with the wild hunt, the stag is also seen as a messenger from that realm. And for this reason, he has often been associated with the festival of Samhain, October 31st to November 2nd, when the veil between this world and the next is drawn aside so that we can commune with the ancestors. He brings with him power and knowledge of this other realm, and he carries on his back not only the king of the fairy, but Merlin too. I like that. And the thing is that the wild hunt, what is that about? Is about taking those that are crossing over, they're taking them to the other side, right? Yeah, the stag. So what is stag bringing to us today? What's the medicine that stag is offering us as an opportunity to tap into? You know, the words that were associated with it was pride, independence, and purification. It's about beginnings. The birch tree was about beginnings, and that stag is a messenger, right? So they were saying, you might be starting new projects. So how can we best take advantage of the opportunity to have stag as part of our day today? He was also about grace and poise, nobility, integrity, and majesty. Being graceful, right? Bringing in some grace in those new projects. Yeah, or perhaps taking advantage of him being a messenger, between worlds. So if you're wanting to talk to your ancestors, to calling on Stag to come and help with that communication. Yeah. Stag. And I think I didn't know that about popple trees. And so, birch trees. And so it's going to be interesting to see how birch also comes into the energy today, right? Yeah. So with all that information about stag, whatever you find that you resonated with you, with the information and everything that was shared today, I say this almost every day is I encourage you to embrace it. And then watch, sense, feel, see how the energy of the day is unfolding for you and where you can best tap into the energy of stag. So it'd be helpful, whether it's directly affecting you or maybe you're a witness to it. Yeah, either way is great because we're learning something, right? And if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's okay. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings by, to say, yep, that one didn't do anything for me. Didn't resonate with me at all. That's okay. There's always tomorrow and whatever card that's going to come tomorrow, right? Yeah. So, Star Nations, we got a lot going on this coming week. We got a lot. Tuesday at noon is Polly Joe's show, Polly Joe LeBay Chakra Sessions. And she's talking about Egyptian Akashic record information. It's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to hear about it. And then at 3 p.m. Eastern is this daily live stream show. And then on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern is my weekly show, Communications from Home. And it's the last Tuesday of the month. That means that we're doing the Unity Breath Meditation, guided meditation on Tuesday night. So I hope you can join me for that. On Wednesday is Polly Joe in the evening at 7 p.m. Eastern with Soul Connections, an evening of healing and divine messages. She's doing card draws, the second half of that show. And then Thursday is Elder Day here at Star Nations. Our elders have their shows on Thursdays. So Constance Shearwater kicks it off at 10:30 Eastern time on Thursday with Spiritual Mysteries of Life. And she's talking about love and compassion on Thursday morning. And then we have that 4 p.m. Eastern is Angel Therapy with Maureen Mann. And Maureen's talking to us about mindfulness and the angels on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. And then 8 p.m. Eastern is our other elders, Orchard and Carl Franklin. Their show is on at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. And let's see, what are they talking about? I should know this because I just wrote it up yesterday for them. They're talking about the Earth and the Sun on Thursday. Yeah. So it's going to be really good. Hope you can join us for any one of those shows. That would be great. All right. I'm just checking the chat just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I think we're good. Jane had the last comment. She says, "You're too funny." I think she's talking to Mervin. Yeah, she is, because he says, "You say H the same as us. Ignore my spelling." Okay. All right. So thank you for joining me this afternoon, Sunday. And for some of you, it's Sunday evening. Thank you for being here with me, and I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, and for the live stream and the card for tomorrow, right? Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, okay? Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.